And I'd like to welcome everybody. Tyler, Brian mentioned that he was going to try to come in via Zoom. Did he get a hold of you that way and stuff?
He did, I believe,
So,
last time.
okay, we'll see if he makes it in. But I'd like to introduce the Planning Commission members here tonight. To the far left is typically Shelley Nazer, who we excuse for personal matters that she has, and I believe she's out of town and so forth, so she won't be in attendance today. Next to me, I have Bob Hinkie, who's an alternate member, but will be a voting member tonight, so thank you. Myself is Michael Fortune, Chairman of the Planning Commission. To my left is typically Tyler Riggs, and he had something come up late this afternoon, so he will not be in attendance as well. And so following to next would be Bob Washburn.
Did you mention Brian?
Yeah, you mentioned.
Oh,
We forgot.
well, I'm gonna come back and see if he
Okay,
logs
if he
in.
shows up, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because he said he was gonna try to submit. So I have Bob Washburn, who's an alternate as well, and he will be a voting member tonight. At the end, we have Joe Chambers, a planning commission member, and of course, he's a voting member tonight as well.
And I'm the senior one present beside you.
Oh, well,
That's how much turnover there is.
well, maybe they knew we were gonna do something tonight. I told Shelley that we would probably be a good time to nominate her for a few things, so anyway, we'll see. But, and then Brian Marble, who is the vice chair, is not in attendance tonight. He is out, but he was going to attempt to dial in and participate in the meeting via Zoom. So we'll see if he's able to do that. So even though we have a thin group, we have some of the best group, and we have a quorum so that we can move forward on items and take care of business that we have for the community. So I'd like to, with that, I'd like to invite you all to stand with me, if you would, for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll lead that. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I failed to mention the brain trust that we have here from the city as well. I'd like to welcome Ryan, Scarlett, and Tyler, and thank you for all their help that they give to us. Okay, one of the first things we want to do is review our minutes from the last meeting. I looked at those and I didn't see anything. Did anybody else find any issues with it?
I did not.
Okay, all right. I did not get anything from Shelley or anybody that identified anything. And so if everything looked good to everyone, thank you, Tyler, for a great job. I would entertain a motion for us to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as recorded.
Perfect.
I'll
Aye.
second.
Thank you. I have a first by Bob Washburn to approve it, and I have a second by Joe Chambers. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Next, we will move on to public comments. This is an opportunity for the public to speak on any issues in general. If they have it, if you're here for a specific item, I'd ask you to wait till that item comes up. But if there's something different that you would have, we'd be more than happy to invite you to come up, state your name, and offer any discussion. Did we have anyone email, write letters, snail mail, call in?
Nope, I checked right before I came in and there was
Okay, nothing. So it looks good that way.
I would just call recognition that Brian is now on.
Okay, Brian, good to have you with us. Can you hear us
Thank
okay?
you. I've got a good connection. I'll be able to participate, I hope.
We can't hear you.
I will work on
Maybe
that.
you're muted.
That's a possibility.
Mine.
That's yours.
Just testing to see.
Brian, if you can hear us, you got it?
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Okay,
I can
Okay.
hear you. I
Great.
can hear you.
we can hear you now too. thank
Okay,
you.
great.
Glad to see you
Good to
with
be
us.
here. Thank you.
You betcha. Okay. If there is no one that has any public comments, no information, which it appears that's the case, we will go ahead and close the public comment portion of the meeting. And we'll move on to the next item, which is public hearings, which we have none scheduled. And as moving on, our legislative action, we have none. But we will move right into our administrative action items. This first item, number 1, is the amended final plat for Parkview Heights subdivision, Lot 1. The Providence City Planning Commission will review, discuss, and may take action on a request to amend Lot 1 of the Parkview Heights subdivision. So with that, and I believe everybody got in their packet the information for that, is that correct? Okay. And this is where it is a lot line request adjustment.
No.
Not a lot line, but a setback from the 30 feet to 20 feet. So I would ask Scarlett if you could please come up and maybe give us a review for us, and then we can go from there.
Okay. Our typical setbacks are 20 foot in the front and 20 foot on the side and 15 in the back, and then 10 feet on an interior side. This one happens to be a corner lot. The developer, when they create their final plat, sometimes they have a certain look they want to see in their development. And so they can increase those setbacks should they choose to do so. They just can't go below our minimums. In this case, the developer, most of these lots are pretty big in the Parkview Heights subdivision. And they put a 30-foot front yard setback on their plat. So that's what we have to go by. As you can see, by looking at the plat, Lot 1 is significantly small, well, not a lot smaller than Lot 5, but it's quite a bit smaller than the others. And Lot 5 is not a corner lot where Lot 1 is, so it's got that extra setback. So the purchasers of Lot 1 have requested to amend the plat for an internal lot restriction, because that's what the setbacks are. And to change the setback from the 30 feet that's shown to 20 feet. This will not impact any of the easements. The public utility easements will stay in place. It won't impact any of the easements. And this lot 1 also has, instead of just having a normal 15-foot rear yard setback, it actually has a 20-foot public utility easement for the irrigation easement that goes through there. So they essentially have a 20-foot rear yard requirement there, so they can't put anything in that. So that's part of the reason as well, so they can scoot their house just a little further to the east to live in just a little bit of backyard that they could do something with to the west. Not that they can't use that as lawn and kind of play area, but they can't put structures or anything like that in it. To consider amending the final plat, we use Utah Code Title 10, Chapter 9A, Part 6, which talks about subdivisions. Providence City Code 2-4-1 establishes that the Planning Commission is the land use authority for all subdivisions. We also look at our general plans and our master plans. Utah Code 10-9A-103 defines what an internal lot restriction is. Utah Code 10-9A-608 tells us the amended subdivision requirements, and 10-9A-609 tells us what the land use authority has to consider when approving an amendment. And then Providence City Code 10-8-1 lists the minimum setbacks, and Providence City Code 1133 talks about the requirements for a final plat. Our conclusions, we've enacted the ordinance that allows us to do, excuse me, to approve subdivisions. The planning commission is the land use authority for subdivisions. In the general plans and the master plans, the proposed amendment does not impact the general plan or the associated master plans. The setback call out is considered an internal lot restriction. Along with the application to amend the final plat, the applicant also filed the petition to amend the final plat as required by state code. Now this part, the planning commission has to determine if there is good cause for the amendment. And the proposed amendment does not amend or vacate a public street. Oh, that should say or a municipal utility easement. And as I stated earlier, it's not amending any public utility easements either. Providence City Code 10.8.1 lists 20 feet as the minimum front setback in a R112 district. And if approved, the applicant will provide a recordable plat in accordance with Utah Code 10.9A.608 and Providence City Code 11.3.3. And then the only conditions are that they address any comments that you may have, and that the applicant will continue to meet all relevant federal, state, county, and Providence City rules, laws, codes, ordinances. Approval by the city of any application or paperwork submitted does not alleviate the owners and or their agents from their responsibility to understand and conform to local, state, and federal laws. Providence City's approval is not intended to and cannot be construed to allow any laws to be violated. So the owners of Lot 1 are here, the Smithhurst, and their builder is here, and the developer, D. Barrett, is here as well. So unless you have any questions for me.
Anybody, anything they'd like to address with Scarlett?
Okay,
I
thank
thought
you.
it looked good. It seems like from the review of everything, Providence City staff would be in support of this. There's nothing that would be violating anything or in question
No,
and stuff.
it won't violate
Yeah.
any zoning ordinances. They'll still,
Right.
and it would probably allow them a little bit more use
Right.
of their yard.
Right. We've done this in the past, not very often, but we have in the past a few times and to help somebody with the building envelope and so forth. Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Scarlett, very much. I'd invite the owners to come forward and state your name. And appreciate you coming in and everything. And so tell us a little bit about what brought you to this point and looking for this change. Is it what?
Yeah, so I'm Zamalachi Smethurst.
I'm Devaney Smithers.
Okay,
We live in Nibley currently. We're going on 4 kids. And then we just found this lot beginning of this year.
Yeah.
During the winter. And I grew up here. Mr. Hinkie was my vice principal actually. Anyways, but
Have good things to say, man.
yes. So yeah, we found the lot because I'm very familiar with the area.
right,
Like a lot of my friends grew up in that area.
sure,
But yeah, so we put an offer on, accepted. And yeah, like Scarlett was saying, the other lots have a little bit more room than we do.
right,
And so our backyard is just kind of funky with this little strip of grass. So we just want to move it forward the 10 feet, so we
right.
have a little bit more usable space in the back.
Well, and I went out, looked at it and so forth, and so really because the easement thing on the west side is kind of hampers a little bit, kind of restricts there. But the other thing I noticed is the lots to the east, looks like the homes really are hanging off the edge of the hill, so
Yeah.
it is a big difference. This is a flat one, and the one also directly behind you to the north of you. So this, I see that, and probably their 30 feet originally may have had something to do just with the lots across the street more than anything.
Yeah.
But for the look and feel, and it's a great area and all of that. So you have your house plans all picked, everything looks good, you're ready to go, and sounds great. Okay. Anybody, any questions for the owners or the builder?
You got me turned around though when you're referencing that, because because when you say east and west, I've got the plat with the cul-de-sac to the north, oriented to the north. And so I wanted just clarification, what do you consider the back lot, the west? At the back of the lot?
Back of the lot, the west side.
So you drive into the neighborhood going east. And then you turn left into the cul-de-sac, which is north facing.
Yeah,
Ours is on the left side, the west side of the road.
I'm looking at it.
And then our house will face towards the cul-de-sac street, so it'll face east.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
I just wanted to get oriented. I
Yeah.
did not know.
I have a picture if you want to see it.
No.
I'll take a couple of them for that, so. Anyone, anything else for the owners or for the builder?
I
Or the
actually would like to
developer.
know from the developer why they have the setback in the front. 30 feet.
Is that a question you'd like to answer, you'd like to offer if you come up and state your name?
I'm just curious.
D Barrett. And we just didn't know. How's that?
That's okay.
I think the engineer put it that way. I don't know why that came up and we didn't recognize that until rookie mistake.
No, that's fine. And thank you for being here tonight.
You
I
betcha.
thought about that too and certainly understand. And like I
It's
said,
just curiosity on my part.
Yeah.
It's just-
so.
I'm
Thank you.
curious too, D, so because they all have the 30-foot setback, the other lots are sold,
Yes.
is it gonna bug anybody that they're using a 20-foot setback where everybody else is using a 30?
No, we haven't talked to the Dunkleys, but I don't think they have an issue and they might even be here to move theirs up as well. I
Are
don't
they the
know.
lot to the north?
Yeah, they're just the one, no, east, just to the
Oh, they're
east.
east.
Yeah, lot 5.
Okay.
But no, that's why we want to be, I think everyone's in support. That's a beautiful piece of property and we want to make it so that it's convenient for them.
Thank you very much. All right, well, let's take an opportunity to discuss it. Anybody see any issues or questions? Is there any reason why we wouldn't support for the homeowner to be able to have this a little bit bigger building envelope?
Well, we have to find good cause.
Okay.
That's in the ordinance,
Right?
so.
Well, I would say because she's pregnant. That's good cause for me. But,
I think a good cause is that, we have the, property owners are able to utilize their property according to the standard the city has set, without impinging on anyone else. I think it seems very appropriate. And, I don't know if we can or should address anybody else, if any of the other two want to do that.
Yeah.
If we can address that now and save anybody trouble, but if we can't do it, that's fine, but.
Yeah.
It just seems like a very logical thing to do. To me.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. I think if you go out there and look, just the positioning of the houses to the east and so forth, and then the easement that's there. Because I guess that's an irrigation easement, is that right? And it's underground now, isn't it? From what I saw. So, it looks like you've got plenty of room there, but because of that and everything. And I too, I'm in support of the homeowners, property owners' rights to do it. And with no specific issue about going from the 30 to the 20. That would affect the city or anything like that it could have gone either way at the time the subdivision was done, because that was our code. I think that's okay. I also understand developers, requiring a bigger front setback things just to complement the lots and so forth. So, all those things. But I think that, yes.
This is Brian. I've got a question. I know there was a large, I don't know if it was a sewer line or a water line that went through here. And it required some extra easement. is that involved at all with this piece of property, or is that down the middle of the cul-de-sac road?
That goes between 3 and 4.
It goes between the builder and developer here, and they say that that goes between lots 3 and 4.
It goes down the.
It goes down the road and then it affects us, actually, my property on number 3. But and it carries on down through there.
2 and 3.
Yeah, 2 and 3, but actually more ours, 3.
For number 3.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I didn't forget about you, Brian. I was getting to you. If there was anything else you had besides that question, if there's anything else.
That's all. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
You bet.
Yeah.
Well.
I support it. Dee's a rookie. He didn't know they were putting 30 feet maybe, and everybody else is allowed 20, and if the neighbors are all good with it, I don't see any reason.
I'd make a motion to approve the request to amend lot 1 of the Parkview Heights subdivision to change the setback to lot 1 to 20 feet. And subject to and adopting the proposed findings of fact and conclusions of law and conditions as set forth there in the staff report.
Thank you.
And as good cause, I'd propose as part of the motion that number 1, it appears that the developer did make a mistake and not realizing it would limit the amount of use to that particular law.
Okay.
The fact that that from a private property rights position, it allows the owner to use their property in the best that they can, and that it does not appear to violate any of the existing city ordinances.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. I have a first by Joe Chambers.
I'll second.
And a second by Bob Hinkie. All in favor?
Aye.
Brian, aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. You're more than welcome to stay if you'd like. Or you're free to enjoy the rest of the evening. All right. We have another item here. We'll move to item number 2. This is the final plat for Pleasant View Lane subdivision. The Providence City Planning Commission will review, discuss, and may take action on a request to approve the final plat for the Pleasant View Lane subdivision. We looked at this before and talked about it and had good discussions. Just out of curiosity, did the neighboring property owners, well, no, I just up this, then we'll come up, but that they were talking about, you know, roadways and if they did anything. And so anyway, I was just curious if they reached out to you or not.
They did reach out.
He's gonna talk. We really don't have.
I'm sorry, if you'll come up and state your name. I should have waited on my question. I'm sorry.
My name is Chris Rosenthal. And we did have a nice, good discussion. But in the end, I decided to carry through with what I intended to sell.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
We'll probably have you come back in a few minutes, but thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate it. Scarlett, if you'd come up and give us the overview that you have for us, it'd be great.
Okay. On this one, we still use Utah Code 10-9A Part 6 for subdivisions. We look at our general plan and our master plans. And we look at Providence City Code 8-121 for water availability. And we look at Providence City Code 11-33 for the final plat requirements. Providence, so our conclusions, Providence has enacted ordinances that require a subdivision plat to comply with the provision of the municipalities ordinances and the provisions of Utah Code 10-9A6. Our general plan and our master plan. The General plan encourages housing options to meet the need of all residents of all ages, income level, and family size, regardless of their stage of life. The general plan framework indicates the preferred scenario for this area is residential, parks and trails and recreation. This parcel is located in the 1 mile level of service area for the Von Bear Park. The trails map proposes that 300 East be developed with a roadside pathway. In talking with Ryan, we are not quite ready to develop the roadside pathways along 300 East, so it will be done, but it won't be done as part of this. It won't be a requirement for this development at this time. It appears this, they've taken care of the right-of-way width. It's an existing right-of-way width of approximately 50 feet with 35 feet of asphalt. So there is and they're adding asphalt, I believe, if I remember looking at the construction drawings properly, to the 37. So they will be adding sidewalk, park strip, and curb and gutter along the front of their development, just their development, but it will be there. They are adding 2 lots, but they are going to be accessed off a single access, so that because 300 East is considered a limited access road. The water availability information is listed in item 3 of the the wastewater. As part of the wastewater, they will pay impact fees. The stormwater master plan, you can see on the plan, it shows an easement for stormwater. And they will be creating, I don't remember now if it's a detention or a retention, but there will be a pond there. And then with the culinary water system, lot 1 has existing service. They'll be extending service lines into 2 and 3. They'll also be extending sewer service into lots 2 and 3. The culinary water system master plan includes capital projects that are eligible for impact fees. At the time, the zoning clearance, they will pay a culinary water system impact fee. And I put the wrong lots. It'll be collected from lots 2 and 3, not 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They are required to dedicate 3.75 acre feet, which is approximately 1 1/3 shares of water. I'm not sure if they're going to dedicate or if they're going to do fee in lieu. If they do fee in lieu, then it would be $3,000 an acre foot. The final plat, there are a few things, and they've actually, Ryan, were you able to, did you get my email with that different plat? In the course of discussions with a potential buyer today, they wanted to shift the road. As you can see, the road is now entirely on lot 2, where before it was split between lot 2 and 3. One of the reasons for that is that lot 3 is impacted. The floodplain does not, is not actually on lot 3. It's about 25 feet away. Our ordinance though requires if you're going to have a basement, it requires a 50-foot setback. If you're going to do a house slab on grade, then you're not held to that 50-foot setback. But the house does have to be built 1 foot above the base flood elevation level. And their engineer will have to put that on the plan for us so that we can judge that. But by moving that driveway just a little bit, that gives a little bit more flexibility if someone does choose to do a home with a basement.
On the lot 3, so
Yes.
it's giving it that opportunity.
Yeah. Otherwise it would make it extremely tight to try and build on there. But like I said, if it's slab on grade, then it doesn't have that 50-foot requirement. It does have to be built above the base flood elevation. So they're showing that change in this on the screen.
And the purpose for this, you explained it to me to help me understand it. It's basically a hammerhead type thing for the fire, for a fire
Yes,
truck to.
yeah, the purpose for the T coming to the south is for emergency vehicle turnaround.
Right.
The straight line going east and west, that's the stormwater and the driveway access
access.
for lots 2 and 3. But the T coming to the south, that's the emergency vehicle access. It's not necessarily access for lot 3.
Okay, thank you.
A couple of things that they needed to do, they adjusted the setback, so they took care of that one. That's in number 4. We still need to work with them on the sewer easement, but we'll take care of that in there, as we finish up with the development application. They're showing the sewer easement. We just want to make sure that we have the make it really clear who's going to be responsible to maintain what portion of that sewer easement. And then there is a reminder that the sewer main is very shallow, and to get sewer, lot 3 may require the home to be built above the existing ground, or probably would need a pump.
Okay.
And then they've added Brenda Rosenthal as a signer, and I think, I don't have my copy. I think they've shown the setback on the flood, but I'll have to look and see.
Okay,
Can you see it there on lot 3? Maybe that one's too little.
No,
Okay, we'll make sure that they
have that on there.
have that on there. So anyway,
Okay.
everything else they've taken care of. Our notes were to address the comments in red, addressing items listed in Aaron Walker's letter, and any comments or conditions from the planning commission. The other staff members, their comments have been included in my report. Then prior to the plat being recorded, the construction plans must be approved. The application for development and public improvement installation must be completed and signed. The declaration and grant of easement and maintenance agreement for the stormwater must be signed, and the water requirement must be dedicated or a fee in lieu paid. The declaration and grant of easement and maintenance agreement must be recorded with the final plat. And the applicant will continue to meet all relevant federal, state, county, province, city rules, laws, codes, ordinances. Approval by the city of any application or paperwork submitted does not alleviate the owners and or their agents from their responsibility to understand and conform to local, state, and federal laws. Providence City's approval is not intended to and cannot be construed to allow any laws to be violated. And I apologize, I left one thing out prior to the plat being recorded. If the developer does have 2 options, they can put all the improvements in
Right.
and then record the plat, or they can post improvement completion assurance. And so they'll have to make that choice. And then, so they would either install improvements or post the bond for that. So those are the conditions.
Perfect. Thank you, Scarlett.
All right.
Does anybody have questions for Scarlett as she went through this and explained it all?
I just want to make sure the access to the property is gonna be from 3rd East.
It's the one road from 30 East, yes.
Thank you. Brian, you had a question?
I do have a question. The private road easement going north and south. Is it necessary that it is that long, that it goes all the way back to the property line on the south side? Could it be shorter?
I don't know, Brian, I'd have to look at, that's more an Aaron Walker question. I think it needs to be at least 70 feet, but I'm not sure if it needs to be longer than that.
Well,
And
then-
this would be this would be considered a hammerhead,
Yes,
and a hammerhead would be probably 70 feet in length, a minimum of 70 feet.
I am not sure. I think that's it, but I'm not gonna be That's a guess.
The owner has a comment for you, Brian. Can I invite you to come up too? Scarlett, will you share the microphone with him? I don't know if everybody's through with their questions for you, but
Hi.
if you'll state your name just one
I'm
more
sorry,
time.
Chris Rosenthal.
Okay, thank you.
The reason why that access road goes all the way to the south end of the property is because that's the access to be used if the city covers maintenance on the sewer line. So the city can have access to the sewer line. It's for the public works.
Public
access.
Works. Yeah.
Correct.
Is not the sewer going to go down the private road going east and west? Is not it going to go underneath that road? That
No,
private
sir.
road?
We found that, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, okay. Because once it gets to the lot 3, it ends up being a little bit shallow. So what would have to
Right.
happen is we'd have to build up the road base. And that is considerably more expensive than bringing it to the south side of the property.
So by coming south, you got a higher spot for the sewer or instead of being lowered.
Yes, it's able to meet code that way.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's a big part for that as well as the turnaround for the fire department emergency vehicles.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
the sewer easement is going down the south side of the lots. Can you see the south side has a larger than a 10-foot side yard. The
Right.
south side has 20 feet. That's for the sewer easement. So that's where the sewer line is coming down. It will connect to the sewer in 300 East and it will come down the south side of the lot 1 and 2 to get to lot 3. So for maintenance purposes, you would need some kind of access to get back there, and
Okay.
even if, no matter who maintains it, they would want to have some kind of access to get some truck in there if they
To get in
needed
there.
to.
I
Did that
just-
answer your
I-
question?
It does, but I just want to state a concern, and that is if that road is too long, if it could be shortened, my concern is that road will just be, that north-south road will just be ignored and it will become a nuisance. And that if both lots 2 and 3 were to be adjusted and to take in as much of that road as possible, then those homeowners would probably take care of that property and have access to it. It would have an easement on it. And so they'd have to keep it clear for the maintenance vehicles.
Brian's got a comment.
I was just gonna say, it also allows that house to face either street on lot 3. So it does give them more ability that they could face to the north or to the east, if it's that way. Cause that gives frontage on both sides.
Well, and because of the detention pond at the end on the east-west road, the other road actually gives them more flexibility too, depending on how they position the home. So, okay. So basically, so I understand it right, where this is helping because the hammerhead for emergency vehicles, but this also is where the sewer's coming in from here. And this will allow access to that if it's needed for maintenance or any issues that way. And so forth. Okay, thank you. Brian, are you all right with those
Yes,
answers?
that was fine. I do have another question.
Sure.
And now I forgot it. I'll wait till after Mr. Rosenthal finishes his.
Okay. Do you have anything for Scarlett?
No, of course not. Scarlett does everything perfectly.
Sorry, I've got just one that came up as everyone was talking. These are the setbacks the right size for corner lots here?
Well, that's a private street. It's actually a private driveway, and so there really isn't
It's
a,
not, okay,
yeah,
Not subject to that.
thank you.
it's not even a private street because it's only got 2 houses on it. So it's a private driveway. Yes.
Thank you.
I have one question. Is the fire for the lot 3 or lot 2?
There's an interested party for both.
I just noticed that lot 2, it makes it smaller for a smaller house on lot 2, moving it that way. That's why I was just asking.
Yes, that valid concern. We understand this.
Anyone, any other comments?
That's a paved road then, or is there a requirement for that?
It'll be hard surfaced all weather. If they want to put asphalt on it, they can, but they have to keep it maintained. And so that it is hard surface, maintained for emergency vehicle use whenever needed.
Highly recommended that it's an asphalt.
Yeah,
What's
That's
that?
our plan.
I said that would be highly recommended for asphalt.
well, the owner stated, we'll go over with it, but that's the plan for the asphalt, just makes it better for everyone. All right, nothing else for Scarlett. Thank you so much, Scarlett.
I'm sorry, Scarlett, come back. Please. Please.
I'm here.
Scarlett, could you tell me why this does not qualify as a inner block development? And that came up last time when we were reviewing this. Why is this not an inner block development?
Because our ordinance has a specific definition for inner block. And it's inside of existing blocks that are surrounded by streets, and this particular property is not surrounded by a street. Oh, by multiple streets. There's only a street in front of it. There's not one on,
Block.
yeah, there's not one on either side or to the west. So it's not a true block.
That makes
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, I just wanted a clarification. It was a little murky earlier. Thanks.
I gotta say, you're looking really tan. Are you down in Florida or something like that?
I'm in Boston. I've got business meetings and I'm bored out of my mind. Thank you.
All right, back on subject. This was gonna rush a little bit. Okay, thank you so much, Scarlett.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Chris, we invite you to come forward. I think things look pretty strong, pretty good. You're moving right along. Everything looked good. You're comfortable with everything that can be done and what's gonna happen?
Yes, I did, I don't know if this is the time to mention this. There was some concerns in the, forgive me, I don't know what's called, the feedback regarding freezing, et cetera. Or
Freezing?
I know there's a concern about who maintains the sewer.
Right.
Was there a concern about elevation of the sewer?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, my apologies.
No, you had already acknowledged that the sewer was gonna be rather shallow on lot 3.
Yes,
So that was that you had addressed that concern.
yes, we've addressed that. Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Chris?
I do. Yeah, I can see a problem with snow removal and storage on the private road.
Mhm.
And I note in your notes that it's Steve Earle, the engineer that drew this up.
Mhm.
Steve's a good guy. But I noted in the note, that note 7 says no permanent structures are allowed to be constructed within any easement.
Mhm.
Then it goes on to say no temporary structures are allowed to be placed within any sewer or private road easement. That contemplates to me that some temporary structures are allowed to be constructed on an easement as long as it's not a sewer or private road easement. Is that intended?
Are you referring to the access to the sewer that public, or the access that the city would
Whatever's in
use?
that gray area, whether that's sewer or whether or not that's just emergency access.
Okay. I had no intention of having any structures, permanent or non-permanent, built in any of the easement areas. I don't think that just doesn't sound very.
You could place a porta potty during construction.
I can address that with the engineer and make sure that we clarify that.
Well, there's, you're gonna have a big debate as to what's permanent and what's temporary and how long it's temporary. I just noted that to me, that creates a problem for inconsistency or vagueness. I just raised that.
Sure.
And then there was another note on here that said, let me find it. It was the one on parking. Oh, sorry. Oh, it's note number 5. Private road easement is also dedicated as a public utility easement and as a stormwater conveyance and retention pond easement. No parking is allowed within said easement. What about, do you need to add a note on there that no no snow storage? I mean, my parking lot, I lost at least a third of my parking lot this year.
Oh, I see what you're
to
saying.
Snow storage.
Okay, so you're concerned about making sure there's, you're concerned to make sure there's a place for the snow to go and not block any access.
Well, I think the fire letter indicates that their concern is that there'd be no parking on it.
Mhm.
But if we have another, snow year, and I hope we do, because I want the water. I don't want to do the snow removal. I'm willing to do it for the water. But if we have the snow that we did last year, it's got to go somewhere. And I don't imagine your neighbors are going to want you throwing it over the fence on their property.
Is there the space in between the easement? I'm assuming the easement is those X's there. The space between forgive me,
You go ahead, go over
Yeah.
and point to it, you go right ahead.
Is this the setback here? So I'm wondering,
Let it go within that area.
if this can be used to use that as an area to put the excess snow.
That belongs to whoever owns the lot. They can do with it
Right.
what they want.
And I understand the private residents are responsible for maintaining that road. So that seems to me that they can, as long as they meet the ability to keep that road clear for emergency vehicles, et cetera, they can
Put it where they,
put it in that area.
I'm not trying to cause you a problem. I really am not.
Oh,
But
that's fine.
with the snow that we had last year,
Mhm.
I live in a cul-de-sac up on Vaughn's Way. And the snowplow comes around and pushes the snow right to the northeast of my house,
Mhm.
not, and in front of my house sometimes, and I don't mind that, as long as it's not the driveway. But that cul-de-sac is a huge cul-de-sac compared to some cul-de-sacs.
Okay,
And there was a lot of snow that was stored there off the city road, because they're pushing it down the hill and around, and I don't mind it, but I'm just saying that the city had a place to put it that wasn't affecting anybody. And I don't know in a road like that where you need to keep it clear if you're gonna have the same problem. And I hope I'm not making a mountain out of a molehill. I just,
The east-west road, the easement is 35 feet. The actual requirement for the road portion is 20. So there's 15 feet. So there'd be like 7, if theoretically, if they put it down the middle, there'd be like 7 feet on either side, or if they put it to the furthest south side of the road, then there'd be 15 feet on the other side that they could utilize probably for snow removal. But we'll look at the construction drawings and make sure as we talk to them.
and I'll bring up the valid point to my engineer and get his feedback on that.
Steve's a good guy.
Yeah.
He can address it.
All right, was I helpful?
yes, very helpful.
Okay.
So.
I don't know. that-
You're not done. You're not done.
Yeah.
I yelled to the man on the TV. That's what they say in Congress.
Mr. Green Jeans, I do have a question, and I don't know if it's for Mr. Rosenthal or for somebody else, but who came up with the ambiguous name of North Street? And is there a way to change it?
Of what street?
The private
North
lane is called North
430
Street.
North Street.
430
Yep.
north.
It's 430 north. And it's a street.
Yeah, so
No.
who named it? Who had the option or the responsibility to name it?
I don't recall being involved in naming that, to be honest.
The streets, I believe that the street naming is very important. And north means absolutely everything and absolutely nothing. And I
Okay.
think it might be more appropriate to name it North Rosenthal Street or something along that way. So that we all know where that street is.
Okay,
Well, Brian,
I think we know where it is.
Yeah,
430
so-
north.
so you have 500 north, 400 north. This is 430 north. It's just,
Okay,
it's
okay.
just, it's a street like every other street in Providence.
yeah, you're right. You're right, Bob. I stand corrected.
Okay.
For some reason, it looked awful, but I like it now because it indicates that it's 430
North.
units north of something. I stand corrected. I thought it was going to be named North Street.
No, okay.
It just could be because you're in Boston and they have the worst road system in the whole country there.
In the whole country.
Yes, there was someone from Boston once that asked, who laid out the streets in Salt Lake? They're the best. Can he come up to Boston and fix all their streets? They were told Brigham Young did that, but anyway, it could just be from where you're at.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you, Brian.
Was there I remember us having this conversation, I don't know if, I thought it was about this, but a retention or detention,
it's a
It's there in the
retention,
corner.
retention.
does it say that?
I can't read it.
They used to, well, that's why I zoomed in here.
What does it say?
It's a retention fund.
But it doesn't say that anywhere.
Should,
That's in the roadway?
Yeah,
yeah, it's to,
It just says,
see notes. Does it say that there anything in the notes?
Note 5,
Note 5?
second line, stormwater conveyance and retention pond easement.
oh, okay, I guess I missed that, I was looking to that.
I can't even see where the notes are on that, but that's okay.
Right here.
I gotta get bigger-
Easement is also
bigger magnifying glass.
Utility easement and
Yeah.
as a stormwater, okay,
So good.
all right, good.
See, you're
I thought it was
top
there.
of everything.
I thought it was written there before, so, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's good. Okay. Does anybody have anything else for Mr. Rosenthal? Or anything? No?
Nope.
Do you have any other comments you'd like to make? Anything?
no,
Okay,
thank you.
perfect. Okay. Brian, anything from your end? Are you okay?
No, thank you very much. I'm okay.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. All right. Amongst ourselves now, how does everyone feel? This is basically what we're doing is approving this. We can review and discuss, excuse me. And take action or request to approve the final plat. So I know there was a couple of items mentioned that will allow the city to just verify things or maybe clarification with a note or something like that, but if we approve this, Ryan, just to help me understand, and there was a correction to the notes, does that prevent that from happening?
So if you look at the prior agenda item, they were correcting
Yeah,
or modifying the note, so that would be the process in which they'd have to go back. If there was something needed to be changed, they'd have to come back and undo them.
Okay. So really what we're deciding tonight is that we're comfortable enough with everything that we would move forward with approving the final plat.
I have a question regarding that. This new sheet that we've got, the drawing of the plat with the changing the width of the replacement of the road is the final plat, even though it supersedes what's in our package. Is
Yes,
that correct?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody, any concerns? Any hesitation, anything that would stop us from approving this as a final plan?
My intention is to vote nay on it. But I don't think it's a matter of, it's just a concern I've got that it's interblock development in my mind and in the minds of the people of the city.
Yes,
And I don't need clarification. I understand that the code might say that it's not, but I think in the spirit of the law, it is. And so that's why I'll vote. And we don't need to discuss it.
okay. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. All right, if everybody is okay, has no concerns, I would entertain a motion on how we would move forward.
I'll make a motion that we approve the item number 2, final plat for Pleasant View Lane subdivision with according to the findings of fact, staff notes and the conclusions of law.
And that conclusions of law, what's our other one?
Conditions.
And conditions, as said.
And conditions, yes, okay, and we don't need to have a good reason,
Not on
No,
this one.
we're good.
sweet.
All right, I have a motion to approve for the final plat by Bob Washburn. But I have a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. That was second by Bob Hinkie. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
2 nays. 3 yeses. The motion carries. Thank you.
Chair,
Yes?
it's interesting to note that at some future point, starting next year, final plats based on the state, final plats won't come back to the planning commission. So your time of dealing with final plats is shrinking. Whether we like that or not, the state has mandated that. So I just bring that up as a discussion that we've had tonight. The state has decided is needless and they're going to eliminate that.
They leave it to the staff, isn't that right?
If it meets the
If it
requirements.
meets all the requirements.
Anyway, I just wanted to record my complaint.
But that's
I
what
think
you're
you did a
saying.
great job in discussing this, and I think that the planning commission should continue to be involved. I don't want to inherit staff.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Rosenthal, thank you very much. I appreciate it and I wish you well and family and everybody that's involved.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Have a great night.
Thank you, you too.
Our next item is a study item number 3. And I have a request I would like to make because we don't have everybody here. And we've not all of us have had a chance to complete our review. I'd like to be able to review Bob's notes and copy as much of that as I can, but haven't had a chance to do that yet. So just kidding there. So, but I would like us to table this if everyone, if we're in agreement on this till our next meeting to allow more time for each member. What we agreed upon last time was that we'd each review it, submit any questions, and then make any revisions we had into Scarlet so that could all come before us and we could then get it knocked out and addressed. And so because of the absentees and on my own part, not having completed my full review, I wanted to see if the commission would be in favor of delaying this until our next meeting.
I'd make a motion
But
to
can we-
accept that. Yeah,
can we
okay,
talk?
no, go ahead.
Thanks.
I would,
I,
this,
Let me have Bob speak and then we'll come to
Go,
Brian.
Bob. Go, Bob.
Thank you. You know, I did my notes and I was hopeful to be able to look at other people's notes because I think that I put my comments out there as a starting point for discussion and hopefully some discussion or reading other people's comments would trigger other ideas or resolve questions or help us in our discussion to be able to come to a conclusion without waiting till the meeting when we see it for the first time. Does that make sense? It'd be great if we could have this available to us and review and then maybe make our own updates to our comments, or at least have some idea of what we want to talk about in the meeting.
If we do that, our caution is to make sure that we're not making a discussion outside, but a proposal to accomplish that would be if we could get those 7 days before the meeting, we could incorporate those as part of the agenda and list that. One of the cautions is if we start to do that, it could become a vast number of
Public
attachments.
meeting?
Well, it could become a vast number of attachments if we're attaching everybody's individually. But if we consolidated them in and brought them in and had them, we'd need some time, but we have a deadline of 7 days before the meeting in order to put it on the agenda. And I don't know at what point yours came. I know
Oh,
you
that
had
yesterday.
it, so, right.
Yesterday, but
So-
if I had known it was that deadline was 7 days before, then they would have been done 7 days.
Yeah, no, and if we can do that so that you have it, so that means you have a week. If you postpone, you have a week. Our next one, our next scheduled planning commission will be on the 11th. So
Right.
that would give you a week to review, submit, and then Ty could put those with the agenda. And then when you got the agenda, you should get it sometime about 7 days in advance. And sometimes we take some time to get everything compiled. But that would give you that opportunity to review other notes. And so when you came, you could have that comment, but you wouldn't be able to comment.
Right, oh, that's perfect.
Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
yeah, it's just a lot better for me to be able to read the stuff and come to the meeting prepared.
Yep. So that would be an option. If we could get it that way, then we could incorporate those into kind of in the agenda as an attachment. That would accommodate and keep us in line with our rules. So
Okay, so I handed out copies to those who are present of my comments. Is there a way for us to get that to the rest of the group, or is that?
Well, if I'm understanding right, but he submitted his. And if all of the rest of us submit our stuff in, then it can all be compiled and then it'll come back to us. So that every week, so we have time to review and can interact, that kind of thing, like it could be added in and it can be addressed. I think that's the real key. I'm not trying to say that this next meeting, we're gonna we're absolutely gonna deal with it and make our changes and move forward. But what I'm not saying that, what I'm saying is it would be good for us to get any comments in at a minimum a week before, so that we can have it done and put into everything compiled and put in, and then we've got it, so we can see and review everything. And then that way, we have a good chance of being ready, because we have, the next is we're going through our subdivision code that will take us a lot more time and be more involved. And so if we can clear this off our plate, I think that would be a great thing. So I can make a commitment that I'll have mine finished and submit it into Scarlett. And I'll talk with Tyler and Shelley as well to just let them know that's what we're looking for. And Brian, same with you. If you have any questions, I can, it's just for us to review the code that Scarlett sent us with those recommendations and any other thoughts or ideas you had. So if you can do that, a week before a meeting at a minimum, then the sooner the better. The sooner the better, to give them time to do it. So
So
Yes, go
Michael,
ahead, I'm sorry.
just to clarify it, I've been watching, this screen for, a few hours, so that I could watch the meeting before. And you guys are just as ugly today as you were 2 weeks ago. That being said, I do have, some notes on my part. And so what you're saying is that it would be appropriate to submit those notes to Tyler or to the chairman?
To Tyler. To Tyler, correct? Yes.
No. Send them to me.
Send them to Scarlett, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Gets their stuff into Scarlett. It'll get compiled and then we'll be on the agenda, it'll be an agenda item, and we'll be ready to be able to get our agenda and review everything.
What we had talked about last time in our last meeting was to take the Word document and turn on track changes. And I inserted some comments too for explanation if needed of some of the changes I made. So I think that makes it easier for you, Scarlett, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, we'll all do the best we can. All right, I believe we had a motion to
We were starting the motion.
table this.
And by the way, I could have made the motion and you could have asked for personal privilege to comment. And you always did. That's the Robert's rules of order.
That's my rules.
No, you wrong, Robert. but,
Wrong, okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a motion that we table it as you suggested. Until next time so that everybody can have some input into it.
Thank you very much. We have a motion to table it. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Multiple seconds. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's all unanimous. So let's do that. We'll all get ourselves together. I'll let Shelley and Tyler know, just to get all their stuff into you, that our dates. Okay, I believe there is no other items. Does anybody have any other business that should come before us? If not, then I would entertain a motion to close our meeting.
I'll second that.
Make the motion, Brian, make the
Oh,
motion.
okay, I'll make the motion that we end this meeting and that Bob Hankey will bring us ice cream next time we meet on the 11th of September.
Okay. I don't know that you can do that, but I'll
I
accept
did.
the motion. And I have a
I'm
second.
not seconding that.
I need a second, so we can
Second.
close. Okay, second. Subject to removal of the ice cream commitment. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Yes.